Hello and welcome to the Championship Talk podcast. I'm your host Paul O'Toole and joined there, he's definitely there, is Thomas Falco.
Hello! Sorry, I added the pause for effect there to make you wonder for a minute because you said he's definitely there. Oh.
That's really going to make the editing easy. Thank you for that. Anyway, let's move on to the news. The games are coming thick and fast. As I say, we were talking about when to record. If we do it Monday, it comes out Tuesday. We then got games on top of us. If we do it Thursday, then it's right. I don't know. Leave a description, a comment below, or leave us a review. And if you want us to record on a different day, this just seems the best because we've got 2 weeks of fixtures to go through and a load of news. So that just seems to be the best to do. So I think the best place to start is, well, certainly the end of Sheffield Wednesday's wait for a new manager.
Yes. Sorry, go on.
I'm pleased with the appointment. I think they've made a good appointment, a sensible appointment. And I think it's good that a manager that was managing a lower league team is now managing a championship, which is what I was calling for earlier. So Darren Moore named Sheffield Wednesday's first team manager.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Obviously, you can tell we're a bit rusty, not being face to face, side to side. Whichever side he is. Yeah, Darren Moore, previously of West Bromwich Albion, of course, as we discussed in one of our embryonic podcasts, didn't we? I think he was manager when we started the podcast, weren't we? When
I think I remember getting very angry that he got sacked.
Yeah,
very angry.
I was trying to remember the reasons at the time why he lost his job at West Bromwich Albion. I think it was down to some home results or perceived style of play, if I remember rightly, as well, at Championship TA1. If someone can correct us on that, which I'm sure
there was a massive gap between I think they were third, and there was a massive gap between their third and sixth.
Yeah, the second come at a very strange time as well, didn't it? And they didn't have a replacement lined up, and Mr. Shan was caretaker manager to the end of the season. Obviously they replaced him with Slaven Bilic, and then we all know what happened when he
took
them
into
over.
The playoffs, didn't he?
Yes, he did, probably from the groundwork that Darren Moore laid. But it's good that he's gone. Getting back to what matters, sorry, not that West Brom don't matter, but obviously we're talking about Darren Moore. He bided his time after that, went to Doncaster to replace Grant McCann, who moved on to Hull. He had a decent enough season with Doncaster. They have been a championship team in the past and been as low as League 2 and non-league in recent seasons as well. Well, recent seasons going back a fair bit now. But he done a very good job with Doncaster. They finished 9th overall last season, but that table was decided by points per game, so there's no telling where they could have ended up. They've had a good season so far this season, but he left on the back of, I think that was 4 of their last 5 games with defeats with Doncaster, and it makes you wonder, because he was linked with Sheffield Wednesday a couple of weeks at least before he got the job, if not a month before he got the job. So you wonder if maybe that had an effect on the players, because that sometimes can, when you know that a manager's being linked with jobs. You maybe seen that a little bit with Lincoln in recent weeks as well, because Michael Appleton was linked with the Bristol City job and they just lost their form a little bit as well. And I'm not saying that does happen, but it could well be a factor in that. But he's a young progressive coach, only 46 years old, had a very distinguished playing career as a centre-back as well, Jamaican international. It's good to see him back in the Championship. He's got a very tough job. Sheffield Wednesday, at the time of his appointment, have lost their last 4 games. A tough game going into a derby against Rotherham on Wednesday night for his first game in charge. Hopefully he gets the commodity of time, because they are in a scrap, aren't they? And you'd think that Mr. Chansiri is banking on the new manager bounce to maybe get a run of momentum going for Sheffield Wednesday, because things not quite working out there at the moment, are they, Paul?
No, as you say, I think the game against Rotherham more. I think the teams that look at the teams at the bottom, and Birmingham, Rotherham, Sheffield Wednesday, Wickham. Sheffield Wednesday are the team that. Obviously, there are 6 points behind because of the points deduction.
Yeah.
So they would be in a much healthier position, but they still would be down where they are. However, we've said in the past, the investment in players over the summer wasn't a statement of we want to stay up. So I think that they'd be very frustrated to be where they are. I think it's a great appointment. I think that new ideas, and I think he'd done an amazing job at West Brom. I know some of the fans, certainly some of the fans that followed us, were frustrated with the style of play, but there was a massive gap between West Brom in 3rd to 6th. They almost basically just walked into the playoffs, but the West Brom board wanted them in the top 2. I think that season to be the 3rd best team as the manager of the 3rd best team, I don't think was a bad underperformance. So interesting.
No, and
so
you
I
just,
think he.
Sorry, Paul. I was just going to back that up with stats because he did do a good job at West Brom. He was there for about a year, I think. If you look at calendar year between 2018 and 2019, 47.9% win rate, and you could argue with the players he had at his disposal at the time, maybe that was what was expected at least. But he's gone to Doncaster, and his win rate at Doncaster in a spell, he was appointed in July 2019, obviously till last week, 44.9% win rate. So he's not doing a bad job. When you look at some of the other managers who have been getting jobs, they've been operating at lower win percentages than that. So he's obviously doing sort of something right, and it's a very progressive appointment for Sheffield Wednesday going, and they've been going with, when I say progressive, they've been going with lesser known coaches, shall we say. Been successful with going back as far as Carlos Carvajal, not so successful if you look at our friend Jos Luhukay, for example, and of course obviously Tony Pulis as well. Yeah, wait and see, but good to see him back in the Championship, certainly.
So we're going to talk about managers that have just joined the Championship, and Neil Warnock has extended his stay as the Middlesbrough manager.
Yes, signed a contract extension to the end of the 2021-22 season, I believe, in the last couple of days, which is fantastic for the Championship and shows that even at his advanced age, definitely when it comes in terms of being a manager.
72 years old.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't say he's ancient, but as far as a football manager goes, it's very rare that you get managers at this type of level at that age, and the fact that he's got that desire to go on for another season beyond this one as well, it just shows the character of the man. People can say what they like about Neil Warnock, us included at times, but he is an absolute professional, and he is a joy to cover in the Championship, isn't he?
Speaking of managers that I would...
Sorry, I was going to say, and who's to say that he can't add another promotion in that time as well, because Middlesbrough are not too far off the playoffs.
I really wouldn't bet against it. Another manager that I wouldn't bet against a playoff run, which would have been unthinkable, I want to say 8 games ago, is Mick McCarthy at Cardiff.
Yes.
He signed a 2-year extension to his contract only today. And when you look at the run that Cardiff have been on since he's joined, I'm right in saying he's unbeaten.
I believe so. Yeah, there's a
draw and the rest are wins. So
yeah, no, he's had an instant impact there, isn't he? And he went in there with the right attitude. We covered at the time. He said, "I want you guys to prove to me that you should be in my first team. I want you to prove that you are the quality players that you were brought to be." That's what he went in there and said, basically. He's worked with what he's got. He's not gone in there and done big shakes. He didn't really have a chance to, granted, but he's gone in there, worked with what has been built over the last few seasons under different managers, namely Neil Warnock and Neil Harris, and has just turned them around, isn't he? Just tinkered with things there, give them a little bit of belief, just play to their strengths, and they've been awesome, haven't they?
They have, and they've been good to watch. I'd say that I don't want to say under Neil Harris they weren't great to watch, but they really weren't. But under Mick McCarthy, they've been quite exciting, and they do. Mick McCarthy plays a more direct style of football. There's no two ways about it. He gets the ball very quickly up the pitch. It was one of the criticisms when he was the Ipswich Town manager. The Ipswich Town fans, we both have got Ipswich Town shirts. You know, we've been to the stadium. Their fans tend to be... they don't like kick and run football, is how I heard it referred to.
No, but
at they like Championship football compared to League One.
at the end of the day, football is seen as it is entertainment for the vast majority of people, but if you've got a team who are playing winning football and giving themselves a chance of going back up a league into the Premier League, you would probably sacrifice the entertainment for effectiveness, wouldn't you? I know as a Nottingham Forest fan, I'd rather Chris Hughton be direct and building from the back, and I'm pretty sure that teams using Darren Moore's Sheffield Wednesday, for example, if they play effective football that play to their strengths, that's not very exciting, but it gets them 3 points most weeks and keeps them up in the Championship this season, I think they would bite your hand off at the moment.
And I wouldn't ever say Mick McCarthy's football was unexciting. I think it's just unsophisticated. I think that's the thing about it is I could point to a couple of clubs where it's not exciting. Really
can I just add to this? But those are the views of Paul O'Toole and not Thomas Falco in the Championship Talk podcast. If Mick McCarthy would like to answer that criticism, aim them at Paul, please, because I'm a massive fan.
No,
and I'm slightly sort of scared of him as well.
But let's be honest. Fans are, you turn on the telly and you see Pep Guardiola's 20,000 touch passes into the box, a little overhead kick into the goal. Mick McCarthy's very much, direct it, get it into the channels, use your players you've got effectively. I would say Mick McCarthy's way of playing is, at this level, more effective because it plays more to the strength of the players he's got. And I would also say he's willing to adapt to the type of players he's got as well. Cardiff aren't playing the way his Ipswich team did, but there are elements of it.
No, well, to be fair, he's got more at his disposal at Cardiff than he ever had at Ipswich, unfortunately for Ipswich fans. He's working with what he's inherited. As I said earlier on, Kiefer Moore up front is a fantastic asset that most Championship teams would love to have in their squad. They've got pacey players on either wing. They've got a nice sort of solid midfield. They've got a nice solid defence. They've got a good goalkeeper as well. They've got a solid foundation there, and he's able to play to them strengths. And all for him. Absolutely brilliant to see him back.
Absolutely, and my only worry is that he takes him up and we don't get to see him next season. Sorry, Cardiff fans, but it's going to be a joy to watch Mick McCarthy's team battle out for a playoff place. News just coming in, and it's reported by the BBC that Coventry City are close to finalising a deal to return to the Ricoh Arena for next season.
Oh, brilliant.
Obviously, Coventry City are homeless at the moment, currently playing their home games at St Andrews, which is about 20 miles away from Coventry. Coventry they felt soulless not having their own ground. I think the fact that they've had no fans at any stadium, I think, has actually helped Coventry not being stand out in terms of having an empty stadium. And I do think going back to the Ricoh Arena at Championship level, which is looking like they will be next season, I think it's I think they're in a great position to fight for a place. I wouldn't say they're in a great position. It's not guaranteed, but in a great position to fight for a place to stay in this league. They're level on points with Birmingham. It just it's ironic for both of them playing at St Andrews. But anyway, I think that's really good news, and it's BBC Cardiff, BBC Coventry Radio that are reporting that. It's looking like they're coming to some sort of agreement. The club's owners still aim to build a new stadium on the southwest edge of the city on land owned by the University of Warwick. However, I think this is a long-running saga going back since they left Highfield Road in 2005, which just seems like ages ago.
Yeah, and Coventry, of course, we know from growing up as well. They were, but when I say they were an established Premier League side, I don't mean they were top five or anything like that, because obviously they weren't. But they were an established Premier League side, weren't they? And the first name I think of when I think of Coventry City is Steve Grizovic. Well, of course I would do, being a goalkeeper myself, but they had a good squad there, didn't they? And they always seem to be able to just hold themselves in the Premier League. And yeah, as you've said, since that move to the Ricoh Arena and the dispute with Sisu and things like that as well, it'd be very interesting to cover the history of Coventry City when we get down to them, because their past 10, 15, 20 years even maybe has been very, very rocky indeed, and it'd be great if they could get back on their own patch and in time for fans to return as well, hopefully at some point in the next season.
I think that could prove to be something that's happens in the not too distant future, so that's great. So thank you all for watching. That concludes the news part of our podcast. As always, if there's anything you think we need to cover, leave us a comment down below. Hit us a thumbs up if you want to support the show, so it allows other people to watch and hopefully catch our main podcast, which is on any kind of podcast streaming service, where we're going to go through the 2 weeks of fixtures from the weekend and the midweek games, and we'll be previewing the games that are coming at the weekend, and then the midweek games after. So that's goodbye from me.
That's goodbye from me.
And we'll speak to you all next week, where no doubt there'll be loads more Championship news to go through. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.